Welcome to the 18th edition of Spooky Reviews from Spooky Ventures. This time around we're looking at a new Blu-ray release of the movie Pitch Black. This particular release comes from Arrow Films and it is classy stuff. I may be late to the party because I never saw this movie before, but I have to say that I'm glad I got to see it now. Pitch Black was originally released in 2000. It's one of those movies that tends to be a bit hard to put into a particular genre. I can see the argument being made for it to be a science fiction film or an action-adventure movie, but to me it really is a horror movie at its core in so many ways, and that's why I'm reviewing it for Spooky Ventures. There are quite a few great actors in the movie, but for me personally the two who stand out are Vin Diesel and Keith David. Diesel is certainly the obvious one, and he's the breakaway winner here, as his character is really the anti-hero turned hero to the movie. Keith David, on the other hand, is a long-time favorite for me because of his role in They Live. I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter movies, and They Live is one of my favorites due to a large degree because of David's performance. In truth, he might be even better here in this movie than he was there. It's kind of interesting that he was in this movie, really, because in a lot of ways it felt like a John Carpenter movie to me. In fact, I get just a bit of an Assault on Precinct 13 vibe, but, set in space. And that space element also brings some references to Ghosts of Mars kind of feeling. I suppose comparisons to Alien and Aliens are appropriate too. In fact, the technology in spaceships give me a bit of that vibe. I'm somehow reminded just a little of Doctor Who at times as well, and particularly the Waters of Mars episode, which I always felt was influenced by Ghosts of Mars. So we're back to Carpenter again. This movie wastes no time jumping in as the crew of the ship are awakened from cryosleep because the vessel is experiencing hull breaches. With the captain dead, docking pilot Carolyn Fry takes command and attempts to land the ship as they've been pulled into the gravity well of a planet and are coming in hot. I found the design of the ship's command center and the ship itself to be very believable and innovative. The whole extended scene of the ship coming in for a not-so-smooth landing was riveting. It was really the first scene of the movie and did a great job of pulling me in. Of course, once they get onto the planet's surface, there are mysteries and dangers there for them. The planet has a trinary star system, so is almost constantly in light. It's a desert which presents its own dangers. They figure out rather quickly that there are dangerous indigenous life forms there, and they also find that they are not the first people who have landed on the planet, because they discover the remains of a previous expedition. Speaking of that indigenous life, I have a bit of an observation about that, but I'm going to hold that to the end of this video. That way you can skip it if you don't want to know until you've seen the film. I will say, though, that the ship has brought its own potential danger with it in the person of Richard B. Riddick. Riddick is played by Diesel, and he's a notorious criminal who is being transported to a prison facility. He's considered highly dangerous, but given the situation on the planet, it becomes apparent rather quickly that his help is needed if they want to survive. Now, there are some pretty interesting interactions between various characters in the film, and some character development occurs along the way. There are also some genuine horror moments along the road. Before I get to the spoiler, let's talk about the release itself. There are actually 2 editions of this available from Arrow. I was sent stripped-down packages, meaning the discs with plain labels and no fancy packages and such of both. Those 2 editions are regular Blu-ray and Ultra HD Blu-ray. Now, I don't have a setup to play the Ultra edition, so I'm reviewing the standard Blu-ray, which looks and sounds great. I'm assuming the 2 are essentially the same, probably just with better graphics. Now, the disc is packed full of great stuff. Now, not only do you get both the original theatrical release of the movie and the director's cut, but there are all kinds of bonus features. Those include new interviews, audio commentary, all kinds of behind-the-scenes footages and making of things, and that's just scratching the surface. There are literally hours of extras here. That's guaranteed to give you plenty of new things to find out about the movie and keep you busy. And this whole set is really highly recommended. Now, that brings me to my observation that gets into spoiler territory. It might be because I recently watched all the Gamera movies, but the life form on the planet reminds me a bit of Gaios, which is one of Gamera's recurring foes. They fly and are nocturnal, so that comparison is part of it. They just have that sort of kaiju look to them. The evolved version of Gaios and Gamera Revenge of Iris in particular seems a lot like these creatures, or rather vice versa. But anyway, I guess that's pretty much the rundown of this film. I really, really enjoyed the movie. I know there's a sequel. I'm going to have to seek that out and give it a try. But in the meantime, I'm just happy to have this one. And if you pick up either of the Blu-ray versions, I'm sure you'll share in that excitement and happiness having it. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.